and a really warm welcome back to Urban Flower Collective. My name's Lisa, I'm your host here. If this is your first time here, then a really warm welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and you'll be first to see all the new tutorials, and hit the notification bell as well, just to remind you. So today we're going to look at this lovely hydrangea. Now this one's in blue. You can have these in any colour. You can have them in sort of pinks and purples. You can have them just plain white. The client today wants it with a little blue hint, so that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to show you really quickly how to make this. Quite a quick flower. You need quite a lot of leaves to get this sort of ball effect, but they're great filler flowers just on their own, so you can have them sort of individually, just popped in between other flowers. Really nice little filler flowers. So let's get cracking and I'll show you how to do it. So first of all, just to save time, I've already rolled out my paste. I've rolled it to level 9 on my pasta machine. Today I'm using my favourite ultrafine paste. If you download the PDF, the whole equipment list and all the things I use with links to them will be in the PDF. So I'm not going to waste time running through everything. But you choose a flower paste that suits your conditions, that suits you, that you can work with and you enjoy working with. So I'm using ultrafine today by Simply Heaven. I'm just leaving it white because all the colour is going to come from the petal dust later. So I've rolled this to level 9, so it's really quite thin. So I've just got it in the petal protector to keep it moist. If you can see here, you can see my fingers easily through that. So today I've got a hydrangea, cutter and veiners. I shall put the template for this cutter in the PDF as well, but I would suggest to get a good hydrangea and to get a realistic looking hydrangea, to get a good veiner. So invest in a good silicone veiner. This one you can get them on Etsy, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them all over, so have a look around. There are some great ones out there. You can get sort of all-in-one cutters for hydrangeas, but I've never got on with them very well at all. I don't think they look very realistic when it comes to putting them together. They're much quicker to make, but today I'm going to try and show you a more botanically correct one. And when I look at my hydrangeas in the garden, this size petal is exactly the size petal that I have on my hydrangeas in the garden. So if you want it to be botanically correct, then you have to do this process. It doesn't take that long. You can get a production line going, and yeah, you need quite a lot of petals to make that ball, but they look much more realistic, I would say. So let's get cracking. So all we need for each flower is 4. And as I say, they make great filler flowers individually as well. You don't need to do as many as I've done here. So just going to cut out 4 petals, like so. And we'll keep that. I'm going to take a tiny bit off. Now you need this paste to be really, really sticky for this method, but I'm going to do the method where I twirl on the wires again. So we're not poking the wires through the paste, we are actually just twirling them on. We don't need very big, very long wires for this, and I'm using 28 gauge, so it's quite a fine wire. We don't need anything too thick. And all I'm going to do here is take each wire. I'm going to take the tiniest piece of flower paste and I'm just going to twirl it onto the edge, maybe just ½ centimetre of each wire. We don't need it to go up too much. You can give it a little roll to make sure it's nice and fine. And as I say, you need your paste to be really, really sticky for this to work. So now we've got all our paste on our wires, I'm going to bring over the veiner. Now I love this veiner, it's got really nice veins. I can't remember the make of it, I'm afraid, but I know David Hayes does a good one. There's some great ones on Etsy as well, I've had a quick look. So make sure that you get a really good veiner. You can cut the petals out by hand, but the veiner makes all the difference. So we're going to look at the indentations, and that's the back. So we're just going to pop each wire on the back of the petal, and we're just going to press down. Give it a good firm press, and that will attach your wire to the petal and give you beautiful veins. So we're going to do that for all 4 petals. So now we've got our petals veined, I'm going to bring over a petal pad and we're going to just ball tool the edges. This will thin them out and it'll give them a little bit of movement as well and make them look a little bit more organic. So I'm just going to just roll around the edge. Now if you haven't used a ball tool before, you would put half on the paste and half on the pad and just press quite firmly and just move it around, and that just gives it a nice bit of movement and a little bit of shape to the petal. So do that for all four. And then finally we want to leave them to dry. Now for me, because I've made a lot, particularly for that for the whole ball of the hydrangea, I use this sort of drying rack and I just lay them on here, and you can do some over, you can do some under, and it just gives them a little bit of movement. If you don't have one of these, and I've got a link to these on my website if you want them to buy one, they're quite handy, you can hang things off them, I really like it. If you haven't got that, you could just use some dimple foam, you know, just some dimple sponge, and lie them on the dimple sponge as well, just to give them a little bit of movement. You don't want them flat, you just want them to have a little bit of a sort of curve to them, but you know, shape them whatever way you fancy. So we're just going to leave those to dry. While they're drying, we'll just make our centre. So I'm just going to take another bit of 28 gauge wire, and I'm just going to take my needle nose pliers and put a little hook on the end. So hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to take the tiniest piece of flour paste, and I'm just going to pop that on the end. I've put a hook on there just so the wire doesn't pop out of the top of the ball, but we'll just need a tiny little ball. So I'm just going to twirl that down. I'm just going to remove a little bit of the excess. So we want it to look really small and delicate, so hopefully you can see that. And that's it, that's all we need to do for our centre. So what I've done is dried some already. So I've dried 4. You can see they haven't got too much movement in them, but you know, they've got a little bit of shape to them. So making sure I've got them the right way up, I'm just going to bring over some paper. Let me get them clean actually. And because I'm just doing these blue, now this is where you can use your artistic license. You can do these whatever colour you want. Look at hydrangeas on the internet, look at them in your garden, look at them on floral arrangements and things, and see what colours you want. The client wants blue, so that's what I'm going to go for here. So today I've got Petal Blue. It's by Sugar Flare, and I really like this colour. It's quite a nice vibrant blue. I'm just going to pop a little bit on the paper here. I don't need too much at all. I'm also going to add a little bit of green, I think, just to give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more colour. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of green out. I don't need much again. And I'm also going to add the tiniest bit of Rainbow Dust Lavender Drop, just a tiny bit of pink. Because if you look at blue hydrangeas, they've often got a tiny bit of pink or lilac in them as well. So I'm going to start off, I've got that everywhere. I'm going to start off with the blue, and all I'm going to do is sort of tap around the edges. And I've got quite a flat brush here, and it's a makeup brush. If you've watched my tutorials before, you know I prefer makeup brushes to paint brushes. You can get nice flat edges on them, and they're good for just tapping around the edges. So I want this just to have kind of an ombre effect. I want the most of the petal to be white, but with just sort of little bits of blue coming in. Now you will need to do the back of this as well. You can put the blue wherever you want. You know, it's not uniform. These plants aren't uniform. If you look at a real hydrangea, they'll have splodges here and there. You know, they aren't uniform at all. So on this one, I might just do a bit at this side here. Take a little bit more blue. So this is a great again, a great flower for you to practice your dusting skills on. You don't need to be a skillful painter to do this one. So I'm starting off with all the blue, just going around the edges on the sides where I fancy it to be. Maybe do a little bit more blue on this one, pull it down a little bit more. But you can see it's quite quick. Once you've got them cut out and dried, it's quite easy. And then my last one, I'm going to do a little bit more at the tip, I think. And maybe just down one of the sides. The same on the back. And now I'm going to go in with the pink a little bit and just add a little bit of pink here. A little bit of purpley pink colour to a few of them. And again, you can go wherever you want. You know, don't be... In real life, these plants aren't uniform. They're not all the same. The petals don't all look the same. So you add the colour where you fancy it to go. And then finally, if you want a bit of green, sometimes you get green from the base, sometimes just in the edges. Remember the back as well, because you do often see the back on these plants. But I think the green just makes it look a little bit like it's just coming into bloom. I'm just going to put a little bit more blue on it, because I was trying to hold back a bit, because less is more. But yeah, you dust them however you feel will fit the style of your cake or your arrangement. So I think we're just about done there. I usually like to put a little bit of green just on the centre. It just brings it to life a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is just bring over some half-width white tape, and we're going to tape this up. So it's as simple as that. So I'm going to take the tiny centre, and I'm going to just twist these petals back to about 45 degrees. You can have them as open as closed as you want. It depends on your arrangement. If you want them a bit more closed in, then go for it. But I'm just going to start to tape these up. So I'll probably do 2 at a time. And I'm just going to tape these together. So you can do, I mean, there's so many colours of hydrangeas. There's lots of beautiful pinks and purples as well. As I say, the client wanted blue for this one, so that's why I've gone for blue. But it's a great flower to practice your dusting skills on. So that is it, basically. That's our hydrangea. It's finished. Now, if you want to put them together, you can see for this one, I did a whole big ball, you know, like the full flower of a hydrangea. But you can just use them individually as well. But if you want to pop them together, what I would do is take some 18 or 16 gauge wire and tape the first one to it. In fact, I'm going to use green tape, I think, for taping up. I like to use white tape just for the petals, to tape the petals together, but then I do like a green stalk on flowers. So I'm going to tape that up with green. If you've never used florist tape before, just give it a stretch and tape it onto itself, but I'm sure a lot of you have been in these classes before. And then all I'm going to do is start to tape these together. So I've made a few before just so I can show you. And you can see as you start to tape them together, it starts to look like a hydrangea. So you can see how that's going. So you would just add on and on and on until you get as big or as small as you want. You know, a lot of hydrangea plants have only got a few petals on them. Some are whole balls, so you can go as far or as small as you want. And you can use them as individual fillers as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, you'll be first to see all the new tutorials. If you want to come and join us over at Urban Flower Collective, then just look on Facebook, Urban Flower Collective. Would love to have you in the group, and if you've got any queries, then ask them in there. If you need any help with your cake business, come and join us on Facebook at Urban Cake Collective. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.